I'm going to Representative Smith, I'll let you start with some opening comments.
Sure, and I won't take too much time here and save some time maybe for later, but it is a privilege to be here, to be a part of your summit, to get a chance to first say thank you for what you do for South Carolina each and every day. You're an important part of the future, today and the future of our state, and I do think South Carolina's best days are ahead of us. We've got wonderful opportunities ahead, but we've got some challenges, and we know how to meet those challenges. I've worked hard to spend a career, a lifetime of serving my community, serving my state, serving my nation, and doing it by bringing people together and focusing on practical solutions to the problems we face, and I think that's what we need to do going forward. So thanks for the time today.
And we'll open the first question about taxes. We refer to the ranking where South Carolina was ranked 37th out of 50 states with the State Business Tax Climate Index ranking.
Right.
Property taxes on commercial industry are some of the highest in the country. Our top marginal rate or tax rate for personal income tax is at 7%, which is the highest in the Southeast. What sort of proposals from a tax perspective would you try to address as governor?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we can do a lot better, much better than where we are in a whole host of areas for tax reform. And it's not hard to do. We just need the leadership to bring our people together and get it done. But first, I talk about Act 388, and it's a wonderful thing to be on the right side of history. But I supported the chamber back then and was a few of the handful of votes opposing Act 388. But it has fully realized what we were concerned, shifting a significant property tax burden onto businesses. It's not something we can fix overnight, but I would be committed as governor to finding a way to do that. And there are ways, and we talked about some of those. One might be considering a statewide millage. If we did that, that also might help us with our equity and our school funding. These are reasonable, responsible proposals that over time can improve the tax climate in our state. And I've got a long record of being for pro-growth tax policies, which is one reason why I opposed 388 when I did. But we can fix that working together. I'm real confident of that. Another area which is just a symptom of, I think, the way, unfortunately, state government has either not related well with local government is the business license fees or taxes. It's become too dependent upon our local governments as a source of revenue. Never intended for that purpose, but it's largely because of the cap that we put on and the way we've kind of hamstringed local governments on the options that they have. And I think we need to do a better job of working with them. We have a couple of reforms that we're looking at and having worked closely with our local government leaders and supporting and understanding what they need to do to be successful. I believe we need to have some reform in that area. Corporate taxes, we at 7% are certainly the highest in the region. I do not think that reflects the values that we have as South Carolinians, that we would have the highest corporate tax income tax in the region. I think that can be changed. I know as an effective rate, it's not the 7%, but still we're above Georgia and North Carolina and Tennessee and others that have zero. We can certainly do better there, and I'm committed to do that. Another area that I think is important to our small businesses, I think, is the internet sales tax. It's an issue we've waited too long for Washington to take action. Of course, taking action and Washington are not often used in the same sentence, obviously, because it hadn't happened. But seriously, it needs to be something that we work to handle. I think it's hurting our brick and mortar small businesses in the state by not taking action, and I think we need a governor who's going to lead in responsible policy in that area. So you can count on me to do that.
Thank you. Workforce and workforce development, I'm at 4%. The state's basically at full employment. We've got a skills gap.
Yeah.
What sort of solutions would you try to take on to address the workforce issue?
I think probably this is the most important job of the next governor, and it is very much tied to education in South Carolina, but workforce development, workforce education. We've been so blessed with a lot of the work that's been done to attract industry to our state, and we've got a tremendous challenge with that gap, and there are ways that we can address it, and we can look back at some of the things that the Chamber's done, with Apprenticeship Carolina. There's been some really very positive steps that you've worked closely with the General Assembly to get passed, and I can talk about some of those programs that have actually are making a difference. But one obvious thing to do, which I'm a big believer in, have worked hard to see happen. You had, I think Bill Bethea won the William Jasper Freedom Award today. Congratulations to Bill, well deserving of that recognition. But I've been working closely with him to see an elimination of our military retirement income tax. Very important. I think 18 other states do that. It is a shot in the arm for workforce development for South Carolina. If we make that decision, we get young, I think young, retired military after 20 years coming to South Carolina, folks with a great sense of discipline and commitment and value that we all share. We want to be and actually be and do the most friendly, military-friendly state in the nation. And one critical way to get that done is we've got to finish that. We've made some strides. We've reduced the amount, but we haven't gone all the way. And so you want to do something quick that's going to make a difference. I want to attract military retirees here and to be a part of our workforce. But let's talk about education and our kids and making sure that they're prepared. It makes me think of our service. Ted, thank you for your service in the military. But we did things as leaders to make sure our soldiers were set up for success. They had the skills that they needed, that they had the resources that they needed to succeed. And I think what has happened, and you can look back at some of the programs, I think we're trying to bridge the gap between what schools are doing for our kids and what businesses need to have in terms of skills and development. I just yesterday was at probably one of the most exciting announcements in Columbia in a long time. It's an IT company. Originally it was called T-Cube Solutions. Space in the insurance IT space that hadn't been filled. Some leaders got in there and got it started. Turned out they grew it so fast and so well. A very large company called Capgemini has about 190,000 employees in 40 countries. I think they're about a $16 billion company. Well, guess what? They're now in Columbia in a big way with about 120 employees, planning to grow as many as 500 employees with an average wage of about $85,000. Pretty hugely significant and a massive change for, I think, a big impact, not just for Columbia, but for the entire state. To get there, I think we really need to look at what we're doing in high school, particularly for IT opportunities, and making sure that we are giving our kids opportunities to get involved in coding and exposing them to what's here today in terms of these IT jobs, but what's going to be here even more so tomorrow. I also think it's a quality of life issue, right? Our talent now goes where they want to live. The smart and creative folks that we want to have here in South Carolina, they go where it's a really cool place to live, quality of life is good, cost of living is down, and I think we need to focus on those issues that make South Carolina the place we love, that make South Carolina the place we know we love raising our kids, and having recreational opportunities and the arts and creative energy. That is going to help also attract the talent we need to fill the jobs. And sadly, also, this needs to be addressed. We've got a public health problem with drugs in South Carolina. Many of the difficulties of filling these jobs are not always a skills issue, but getting workers that can pass a drug test. And this is a very serious public health issue facing our state. And the next governor is going to need to understand it and is going to need to focus on it. And I can tell you, I do understand it, and it will be a focus for us. And I'd also, there are some incentive changes that I think we ought to make. Some other states have done a little better job. We're doing great, I think, and we always find ways to do better when it comes to manufacturing incentives and the way we compete with other states. We're beating the crud out of our neighboring states, so to speak, on some big acquisitions and some of the things we're doing, and those are really good. But I think we can do better when it comes to IT recruitment and supporting the infrastructure that they need to grow IT opportunities in the state. So those are just a couple of ideas, but you can count on me to make it number one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you talked a little bit about education. Let's drill down. K through 12, what sort of proposals would you try to enact to improve the K through 12 system in South Carolina?
Well, Ted, you know this has been a passion of mine. We've served together in the House for many years, and this is an area I believe in so much. I have a passion for this. The policy in this area is important, and I'll tell you this. Obviously, we've got to do better, and we have made some strides. And I think it's important to look that there are some good things happening in public education in South Carolina in certain areas. You look at, I was grateful to have the endorsement of a great education governor, Dick Riley, He stood with me a couple weeks ago as being the next education governor in South Carolina, not because we're going to go do the kind of things he did back when he was serving, but because understanding the needs for our future and the opportunities that we have to be sure to provide, and I'll talk about a couple of those things. Look, teaching and teachers and recruiting teachers and keeping high-quality teachers in the classroom is the number one issue and challenge we face in public education. And to do that, you got to do a couple of things. And it's not a money solution. I think you got to raise the role, status, and importance of teachers in the process. It reminds me of, again, I think of a lot of military analogies, but they're the tip of the spear. They're on the front lines of this effort. And they are the most important, along with parents, working to educate our kids and focusing on what's critical there. I'm looking at what's happening in other states, and they're looking at these things called team teaching or looping, where often the most influential adult on our kids over a period of time during their school experience can be coaches and the team of coaches who are there with kids through a period of time in their school. I'm for looking at reforms, innovation, and efforts that will look at pulling together teams of teachers, 3 less experienced teachers with 2 more experienced teachers, working with kids from 1st through 3rd grade or from 5th through 8th grade, and starting a pilot project to show how those relationships that are made in the classroom are very important. And it also provides support to those younger teachers when they have more experienced teachers that are there with them, helping them along. We've seen other states have seen some success in that area, and I'd like to look at that for South Carolina. But there's a lot of good things. I've worked closely with Future Minds and What Works SC about making sure that we have the resources in the classroom. I, for one, and I've not met a parent in South Carolina that believes minimally adequate is a standard we should all aspire to for our kids in the classroom. And I think this is very hard, but I think it's the hard things that we should focus on. Because I know, and I know everybody in this room knows, that we can do a lot better than we're doing in public education. Fairfield County is doing some great things to build housing. Often getting teachers to teach in rural parts of our state, it's a housing issue. There isn't a place for them to live. I mean, Fairfield County, I think some 60 or 70% of the teachers don't live in the county. But they're building opportunities for nice housing and access to that, and a community there to support the teachers. And I think there are those kinds of things that will happen that will, I think, help grow and support education in the state. But and lastly, I'll just mention First Steps. I was the author of First Steps to School Readiness, and the business community led that effort. Y'all made the difference. It wasn't going to happen without the business community believing in the value and the importance of an education and getting to kids early. The next step is making sure that high-quality early childhood education is available across the state in rural and urban parts of our state. And that's a focus that I'll have as governor. And matching those efforts in education with workforce development, we will move South Carolina forward together.
And the last topic we touch on is health care. It's a mess in D.C. What sort of state solutions would you like to try to implement if governor related to health care?
Another area that I've enjoyed working on, and what I love about the years I've had serving is the policy stuff. I'm one of the guys that just really enjoys the details and where we can actually make a difference and make things happen. I mean, I think hyperbole and this and that is one thing, and just but we got to have real solutions that are going to make a difference, right, in practical senses. And so I have a South Carolina plan for health care. It uses Medicaid expansion, but it uses it for our priorities. It's our plan for our future. It is 40,000 jobs. 40,000 jobs. It is $2 billion a year annually. And we're going to do things, and I can't give you all the details today, but it's going to be pushed out with some of our policy initiatives in this campaign. We're going to have an opt-in program for small businesses in South Carolina. The small businesses today that are having a tough time providing access and health care to their employees, we're going to help them do it. And we're going to help them do it through this plan that actually some other states have taken advantage of as they've taken that resource and leveraged it for their state. We're also going to make a difference in rural health care. There's no question about it. Our failure to be smart about health care has caused the loss of 4 rural hospitals in our state, the largest employers in those counties, and you know, we just have got to do better. And let me tell you about recruiting. What business, I mean, everyone in here understands running a business. If you're trying to recruit a business to your county but you don't have a hospital for your employees, we have got to be smart about this. And as governor, we've waited years to take the right step, the correct step in the right direction on this, and I'll do it. And I'll do it with your help, and we'll make a better and brighter future for South Carolina in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you have some closing remarks, you can share them with us.
I do. And thank you again, Ted. Thanks to everyone for being here. It's a privilege for me to have this opportunity to run to serve South Carolina as governor. I'm very thankful for from the support I get from my family to do this, from those in my life to step out to try to take South Carolina in a direction that I think is going to be the right direction for our state. And to do that, I'm coming at it from where I've served in the past 22 years, which is working hard with people from both sides of the aisle. I've worked hard to build a well of respect from Republicans and Democrats by working on issues that matter to all of us. I think we need a governor that is going to be a governor for all of us, not a Republican governor for the Republicans or a Democratic governor for the Democrats, but a governor who's committed to all of South Carolina. And that's been the way I have served my community. That is the way I served my nation when the diverse group that I was privileged to lead in Afghanistan came together. And that's the way I've served in the South Carolina House. And if given that extraordinary privilege to serve as governor of South Carolina, I will continue to do that and work for practical, real solutions. I will get up every day and give my very best for all of South Carolina. So thank you very much, and it's been a privilege to be with you. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you, James.